Well, hello and welcome everybody out there, all the people out there in the fandom, whatever fandom you're a part of. This is, of course, the podcast of champions coming straight out of sakar.freeforums.net. I am Jeff, True Knowledge in the house, moderating this show today, and I've got a excellent panel here with some fresh blood and some veterans. Nice mix. We have right off the bat the biggest veteran of the podcast of champions today, the Grandmaster, who is the chieftain of Sakar. How are you, Grandmaster?
I'm doing great. Thank you for hosting this episode, Jeff.
Excellent. All right, we've got right next to him, we've got Travis, co-host of the MCU Beyond Infinity podcast. What's going on, Travis?
Not a lot.
Good to see you, brother.
Mhm.
Down at the bottom, we've got Logan, the host of the Crisis Variety Hour on YouTube. How are you, Logan?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Next to him, we've got Perry Ramsey, co-host of the MCU's Bleeding Edge and host of the Off Topic podcast. What up? What up, Perry?
How's it going, Jeff?
Good to see you again, brother. And next to Perry, we've got, of course, the lovely Daisah and the extremely handsome Kloss, or Grayson, as he's also known. And they are the hosts of the B is for Brutal MMA podcast. And Kloss also hosts the Kloss Show on YouTube.
Yeah, that show.
That's right.
That's
I'll
one
give
of
you guys time to plug your shit at the end of the show. And we're waiting for one more person, and Sally, but she doesn't seem to be here right now, so we're going to go ahead and jump off. And our first segment for today is going to be a review of What If Episode 7, What If Thor Were an Only Child? And essentially, the synopsis on this episode is that Odin goes into the Odin sleep in the beginning. Frigga leaves for her sister or whatever, and Thor's left in charge of Asgard. And this version of Thor, without Loki growing up, proceeds to bring a massive party and like his Asgardian friends and everything to Las Vegas. And they essentially have this massive party that spreads out across the United States of America and the globe or whatever. And there's other MCU characters in there. We see Nebula. There's Drax again. Howard the Duck is there again. I think I saw Korath, but I'm not sure. Was Korath in there, guys?
No, I didn't see Korath.
You didn't see Korath,
No.
Travis? Okay, I thought I saw him. There was Satur was in there, like fueling up the Statue of Liberty, and we had the Frost Giants and everything. And we of course had Jane Foster and Darcy from the first Thor movie. They saw or anticipated the aliens teleporting and transporting themselves to Midgard or to Earth, and they alerted Shield. There's like a romantic dynamic between Jane and Thor again. And long story short, Shield is concerned because the party is like out of hand. It's like destroying things and everything. And so, they call Captain Marvel in. Captain Marvel fights with Thor. They fight to a draw. They're going to nuke Thor. And then at the last minute, Frigga shows up because Jane alerted Heimdall. So she got in touch with Frigga. Frigga came down and set Thor straight. Thor and all the other people cleaned up the earth and everything and whatnot, and everything was hunky-dory. So bottom line, I'm very interested in finding out what kind of varying different opinions we have for this episode. And to start off with, let me also mention that there's not an end credits, but there's an end scene where we see Ultron with the Infinity Stones, which was an interesting twist. So going to the panel, first off, Perry, general thoughts on episode 7.
It was kind of fine. Like it didn't really do much for me in terms of like excitement like the other ones did. It just felt like more like they were sitting there saying, okay, we need, what are they doing, 9 episodes? and they were like, we
So it
have
was filler. It was filler.
Yeah, like it just kind of felt like they were like, okay, we have not, we need 9, and we have 8 good ones. What can we do to just make like a wacky episode, like somewhere towards the end, like, and that's what it just kind of felt like. It felt kind of like weightless, like there was no real attachment to it. It just kind of was like, yeah, what if Thor liked to party, like, like what if he was just like a um, bro, like a frat bro kind of thing. So I don't know. It wasn't anything like horrible. Like I had fun, I laughed through it, but in terms of like how I felt versus the other ones, it was fine. It was fine.
I love that Nick Fury called Thor Spicoli. That was awesome. That was really funny. Some of you younger folks here on the show may not even know who Spicoli is or what that reference is
I
about.
got no idea.
Yeah. What movie is that from? Perry, Grandmaster? What movie does the character Spicoli come out of?
I don't know. I'm not that young, but I have no clue.
It came out in like 1980 or 1981. That's okay. It's like a.
It's Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Yes, that's what it is. Excellent. Thank you, Travis.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah, I didn't know it. I
No,
Googled
that's
it in another
okay. That's a
tab.
good segue. I'm going to go to you next, Travis, because I already kind of have an idea of what your opinion on the episode was. What were your general thoughts on episode 7 of What If?
Okay, it may be my least favorite thing the MCU has done that is still canon. I'm canon and continuity is important to me, and this was kind of weird placement. It's unclear where in the timeline it's set.
So wait a minute. Let me
Granted,
make sure I understand this. You're
it
ranking
is
this
an
the
alternate
worst
universe.
overall. You're ranking this the worst overall in MCU history, above Captain Marvel.
Yeah, it's definitely worse than the movies for me. This was just like goofy bullshit that was filler, like Perry said, with a stinger tacked onto the end. That it's okay. Like I don't want to be too hard on it. It wasn't terrible. It was just not as good as the other What If episodes.
Man, just if you want to savage it, go ahead. You're not gonna get any complaints from anybody on here, I don't think, Travis.
No, I don't, because I don't think that I was really the target audience for this one. It almost felt like it was more aimed for a younger audience who aren't annoyed by douchey characters as much as I am. But yeah, and I think Marvel should be aiming stuff at wide audiences as much as possible. I mean, start them young.
I think it's very interesting that you mentioned that, because it actually ties into the future of the MCU in terms of the Young Avengers and some characters that we're going to be getting introduced in the MCU, where they might be going in the same direction of that, like, woke, Disneyfied type, to borrow Lord Deathman's term, Disneyfied type, content. But going over to you, Kloss, and to Daisah, and you guys can go ahead and go in whatever order you want. What were your general thoughts on the episode? And I just want to preface that Daisah and Kloss are very, very much newer MCU fans. Shang-Chi was Kloss's first MCU film. So that's where they're coming from, basically, as far as their knowledge of the MCU. But go ahead, guys.
So I really liked the episode, but it's a different perspective because it was my first episode of like this series, so I didn't really know what to expect. But I like the goofiness from it because like it reminds me of like some of my favorite like childhood cartoons I like to watch, like Adventure Time, where like they're kind of like superheroes and they like party like with squirrels and other animals and things like that on different like parts of the universe. So it kind of gave me like a nostalgia like feel while watching it. And then I liked how it kind of gave the question like what if he was like the only child, just because I thought maybe he would be more serious, just because from a lot of people that I know that are only children, they're like very serious and like play with themselves like all the time, but not like that, Grayson. But they can entertain themselves. So it was very interesting. I liked how they had other characters from the universe like Captain Marvel.
Did you enjoy seeing Captain Marvel?
Yeah, I haven't seen much of her. I don't think I've seen her in a movie, and so it kind of gave me a little bit about like her personality and then also her strength. Just because I thought Thor was supposed to be really strong, but then she kind of like tossed him around like a rag doll in the episode. So
You
I
know
was like,
what?
is she the strongest one? You know?
That's awesome. You know what? That's why I think it's so important and such an interest an interesting thing to have such varied levels of experience and knowledge when it comes to Marvel and the MCU, because you're bringing up some really good points that I think it's interesting that this is the way that the episode resonated with you in contrast to like Travis or Perry. So what did you think, Kloss?
Yeah, I didn't know who most of the people were. I was like, there's a duck that's getting Elvis married to some lady now on here.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yes,
Yeah,
how is
there
the
was a
duck
duck
married
that got
Darcy?
married. There was some bestiality in there, dude. I was all for it.
There we go.
All
She's
in good
marrying a
fun.
duck.
That's why we have you on, Kloss.
Is he a superhero duck?
Not really. He just kind of drinks martinis basically or whatever, and
Is he a
like
super rich duck?
he definitely hooks up with like attractive women though, like in the past.
Heck yeah, dude. He's a sugar daddy duck.
Yeah, he's got some skills for a duck.
Yeah, so I like that guy was my favorite part of the duck.
Oh, so that was okay. So that was your favorite part of the episode was
I
the
like
duck?
that guy, dude. He was hidden in there. And
All right, all right.
the fight scene was kind of weird at one point. I wasn't about the fight scene because I don't know. They just like shoot colorful beams at each other and it doesn't do anything, any damage. And I was like, all right, well, there's just no winner. It seems like they needed a winner in the fight.
Speaking of
Well-
colorful, I just want to point out that I really like the animation. Like I really haven't seen anything like that before, so I really appreciated all the colors and the work put into that.
You know what? That's a great point, Daisah. The animation has been very good and very consistent throughout the series. And going to you, Grandmaster, and then Logan, if you'll come in at the end. Grandmaster, what did you think of the animation in this episode, and what were your general thoughts on episode 7?
I think the animation was the best thing about this whole episode. It was fun to watch, but it wasn't really good. And to come back to the point that was made about the colorful beams being shot at each other and nothing happened, that was actually kind of the point. But yeah, it wasn't just great. I did smile quite a few times, but it wasn't a good episode at all to me. And overall, I think What If is as a whole is probably going to the bottom of my MCU list,
Okay,
even below Thor: The Dark World.
Oh man,
Do you have a whole list?
That's low.
Wow. That is
Yeah.
low. So you're that episode itself or the series?
The series.
Okay.
Like I say, the animation is good on the show. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, it just doesn't work for me. But that's me.
Hey, I think that's perfectly fair. I mean, we want honest opinions here on this show. What did you think, Logan?
Okay, to me personally, right, I liked it, but it seemed more of like a Disney property type thing. You know what I mean? Like where they're like, oh, they lived happily ever after. Yay. Like it seemed to me that it didn't really have a message as any of the other ones did. You know what I mean? It seemed like it was just filler, like you guys said. So I enjoyed it for what it was, but it's not up there like the other shows are, you know, or anything that Marvel's produced. So yeah.
Well, that's what we want to hear. Actually, I'm glad that you brought that up because I'm glad that you're making it a comparison to what we've already received as far as these Disney Plus series and everything, and you're making that kind of contrast. Did you, Logan? Did you feel like you're on the same wavelength as Travis and Grandmaster, kind of where this is like maybe the worst thing you've seen?
It's not. To me personally, I don't think it's worse than Thor: The Dark World, but that's me. But I watched episode 4, 5, and 7, I think, was the order that I watched, and the episode that I really liked was the Doctor Strange one. That one seemed like it actually had a message behind it, but when it comes to the one that we're reviewing right now, it doesn't really seem that way. It seemed like it was just like, hey, we need an action scene and we need Thor to be a frat dude. That was pretty much it. That's pretty much what I took from it.
Okay.
It feels a bit like it's a bit of a fan service. We need a fight between two superheroes and put it in an animation show.
Yeah.
And usually when it comes to fan service, there's one big exception, that's Endgame, but usually fan service leads to bad content.
Did the kids like it?
Well,
I don't know. I don't have kids.
Oh.
I don't. Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, and my kids don't watch What If. Go ahead, Kloss.
Oh, that was Daisah that put that in there. Yeah, Daisah, we already were talking.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, if I had to like write something down, like I think this was like the point of the show, or this episode anyway, I would think I do agree. I can't remember who said it, but they felt like it was like a Disney type episode, and I agree with that. Just because, if anything, this episode just kind of felt like, I don't know, maybe appreciate your siblings more because they impact your life like more than you think.
I think he fights his brother like to the death.
Not in
Or
this
something.
episode. I don't think. I don't
Normally.
think they fought, but
Don't they kill a bunch of people?
that's the message I got from the episode. Was just like siblings are good, you know.
No,
like a family type vibe.
Siblings are good. They don't kill each other?
Loki's was a villain, then like an anti-hero in the MCU, which you'll find out later on as you get into the. Kloss has never seen an Avengers.
Is he very evil, or is he just more of a bamboozler?
No,
He
he's like
was
an
very
anti-hero.
evil, and I think it was Infinity War. I think
He was very
like-
evil in that?
No. You know, he was evil in the first Avengers film, and then he was like
Avengers.
an anti-hero by the time like Infinity War came out. But
So he's...
But no, moving on. As far as high points with the episode, and then as far as what didn't work or what you didn't like, and I know we've already gotten some negative reactions. Starting off with you, Grandmaster, what were your what out of it do you take as highs, I guess, and what were the lows?
Well, if I had to pick some highs, which is hard, I would say that the fight scene was fun, and well animated, and a fight like I would imagine a fight to be between Thor and Captain Marvel. And yeah, the most funny part to me was the marriage between Howard the Duck and Darcy Lewis. They seem right for each other. I will just leave it at that. And and lows, yeah, like I say, it just didn't add anything to a show that doesn't add much to the MCU. So maybe the last scene will change later on if the series progress. Because I do have a feeling it will be tying all together in the end. But yeah, overall, there was not much in it for me.
Well, I loved seeing Ultron. I did. I thought it was cool that Ultron popped up. I've been waiting to see Ultron again. You know what I mean? Like I've kind of been. I'll put it on record right now that I honestly believe that they should bring Ultron back in the MCU at some point, and I hope they do. I hope they find a way to sneak him in and give him some kind of role like Red Skull got in Infinity War. You know what I mean? Like something like that, you know, where, you know, it's like a cameo or like a bit role or something. But I like Ultron. Going to you, Logan, what were your ups and your downs with this episode? Was there anything that you liked about it? Was there anything you didn't like about it?
I liked how Odin brought Loki back. Like I liked how we got to see a different version of him, like other than, you know, his usual version of himself. The animation was pretty good. I like that, but I don't know. It just bothered me how it didn't really. There wasn't really a clear message to me, at least. Like it just seemed like there wasn't a winner in the fight. There wasn't. It just seemed like it was all swept under the rug, basically. You know.
Yeah, it was very detached from your typical Marvel model that you usually get with a movie, you know,
Yeah.
or like or most of the Disney Plus series we've gotten that have been live action.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Going to you, Kloss, and then to you, Daisah. What were your ups and your downs with this episode, or
Dude,
did you... Go ahead, Kloss.
I thought it was pretty all right. It was edgy for what I thought a superhero show would be. Like they were drinking. That lady was marrying a duck, and then that one girl like alluded to somebody being in her room, in her motel room, in her cheap motel, when like the police came and were asking who was in there. And I was like, oh, this is a little different than for what I normally see with superhero stuff
There
whenever I
was
watch
a
it.
scatological remark at one point during that time of the episode. I can't remember who said it. It was either Darcy or Jane or somebody said something like something very scatological, like
Yeah,
but I
there
can't
were some.
remember exactly who it was.
I think she was saying like he didn't say goodbye or like say where he was going. I thought that was it. That was what I was thinking, maybe.
I don't know.
Or
There
maybe
was
she was being
some.
questioned. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. There were some good parts in there, but for that, and I don't know. It seemed almost like a Twilight Zone one-off episode, and it was all right. It was fine. It didn't bug me or nothing to watch it.
I like that you mentioned the Twilight Zone. That's actually a great connection with What If. It really is. That's a very accurate portrayal of what If is about. The Twilight Zone. What about you, Daisah? I know you said you liked it.
Yeah, I loved it, and the more I think about it, I think it's because like I like rom-coms, and this episode was like very much of a rom-com for me, but I think the high point for me personally was when she was like, "Oh, aliens are coming," and I was like getting kind of like afraid, like on the edge of my seat, like, "Oh, there's gonna be an invasion and like a battle or whatever." But then it just turned out for them to like be partying, so that was like a sigh of like relief for me. Like I don't know, something just happened in my brain, and I was like, "Oh, this is good," and then it just became like a rom com, and I really liked it, and it was very poppy, like pop culture, so I liked it for those reasons.
Hey, you know what? I mean, I'm sure Kevin Feige is very happy to hear that somebody enjoyed the episode.
Yeah,
Um,
it really appealed to me like a rom com where it's like, oh, they go on a date and they have a lot of fun, and then she's like, he didn't give me his number or whatever, and then they meet up at the end of the movie.
well,
So I liked
we
it.
can definitely we can already kind of tell that you're going to love it when they do the Ironheart series and everything, and they make these that when they do the real woke shit the on Disney Plus, you'll be loving it. But Travis, uh, I loved the Captain Marvel aspect of the episode, although like Kloss said, I didn't like the fact that there was no blood or anything, or like whenever Captain Marvel punched Thor and like he flew from like state to state and everything. There was no blood or like he didn't even look like he was dirty or anything. That wasn't very authentic. But at the very least, did you find anything in the episode positive?
Yeah, there's some good. I enjoyed it. I'm hearing that people enjoyed Howard the Duck. That was like a disaster of a movie for Marvel. It was the first Marvel theatrical film ever, and did not do well. But he's getting a second day in court here. I liked the action scene, but I do think Kloss has a fair point. They don't make any effort to explain why they're shooting beams at each other and why they're not reacting to it. Captain Marvel absorbs energy. They don't tell you that at all. I'm not sure if they mention it in any of the movies or anything, but that's one of her power sets. But I enjoyed the intercontinental combat because that's something that you can't really depict in live action easily. Very comic booky, and that's fun. And yeah, that's about it as far as the positives for me. Um, oh, I also enjoyed Captain Marvel in general. She was kind of the audience surrogate here for me, where there are all these fun things going on, but I wasn't enjoying the episode. So her being so just over Thor's party Thor's bullshit kind of was enjoyable for me. And yeah. Uh, oh, also one of the negatives was I didn't like that Mjolnir was the hammer of Thor was still enchanted, where Captain Marvel couldn't lift it. I just have a hard time believing that this version of Thor would be able to lift it either. It makes it mean less when a noble character is. Anyway, that's about it as far as ups and downs.
Okay, I get where you're coming from with that, but at the same time, I feel like, um, again, well, you know what? I agree that it would have been nice if maybe they would have actually established Carol Danvers' power set a little bit, like maybe just given some kind of information about her. They're just assuming basically that you're going to understand the character, I guess. But
Yeah.
Perry, going to you, Perry, what were your ups and downs with the episode? If or was it all pretty much down?
No, I think it was like a fun episode. It just didn't really do much for me in terms of like expanding on uh like more creative ideas in the MCU. So on that end of like saying like the other ones where it feels like they were a little more thoughtful. This one just didn't feel as thoughtful or like intuitive into progressing something. Um, but I can't really like, and I'm not trying to, I don't want to like tear it down because of that, because um, like Kloss was saying, these feel like Twilight Zone episodes. Well, that's in, like you were saying, that's exactly what these are. These are one off, what if this was the case kind of situation. So I'm trying not to be too critical of that idea, because some of these are going to be like, what if there were zombies? What if like Thor was an only child and he was a frat bro? Like, or what if like Doctor Strange got sucked into this black hole and was like doing all this weird shit? Like it could be anything. So it's like, yeah, there's going to be sillier ones than other ones. And so when you think about it like that, I guess it's just, it didn't do so much for me in terms of like sitting down and being like, oh, that's interesting. It was more just like, oh, that's kind of funny to think about. Like, what if Thor was just like a frat bro, mama's boy who was afraid to like upset her, where
Yeah.
there's no actual consequence to like his actions. It feels like.
Well, I mean, yeah, it was like honestly, Perry, and I'm basically gonna kind of close out this segment of the show right now by basically just putting out there that if anybody has any basic last thoughts on the episode, I'll give everybody a chance here in just a second. But going to you, Perry, keeping you here on the spot, like, do you feel like I mean, I missed the live action Disney Plus series already. I do. Like, how do you feel from a competitive standpoint or a contrast standpoint? Do you feel like the live action series are just better than the animated?
I don't think they are inherently. I think they can be just as good. I mean, if you want to take a similar situation and you look at the animated DC property, like the DC Comics stuff, the animated movies and shows are notoriously better than the movies in 90% of the cases. And so I don't think live action is inherently better. I think people connect to it easier because it's not as like there's less disconnect for people to, or suspension of disbelief for people to like buy into it. But I don't think inherently live action is better than animated. If you do want to check out something that Disney also just did with Star Wars, they have a new animated anime series that is kind of like What If. It takes like separate stories that are completely detached from any mainline stories in Star Wars, and a different studio with different animation styles did every single one. And that was actually a little more enjoyable for me than watching the What If. And I think it was because they changed it up. It was separate stories. There was still a continuity that followed in within like the Star Wars lore, but every single episode was a different animation style. So maybe that's another thing they have to think about. Maybe just having like weird what if stories isn't enough for people to keep watching season after season, and maybe they have to change things up a little bit. But so far I'm enjoying the What If. I just don't know how long they can continue to do it without bringing it all together, because there's going to be there's going to be a wide variety of people who want it to, and there's going to be a variety of people who don't want it to, and it's kind of hard to please both people.
That's a good point. I mean, I'll open it right up. I mean, to everybody, Grandmaster, Logan, Travis, if you have any thoughts as far as what I was just asking Perry, regarding the contrast between the live action Disney Plus series, and the films, and what we're seeing with What If. I honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of the animation in this series. I'll be honest with you. I think it's good, but it's not anything that I think is like outstanding or anything that's blowing me away or anything like that. So, again, just wide open. Like, does anybody have any thoughts on that contrast as far as like the live action shows versus the animated?
Well, overall, I think the level, there's a certain, how you say that, down line which the live action shows don't cross. They have a certain level of quality. The animation show What If dives below that line from time to time. For me, with this episode, I didn't like the zombie episode, as you know. Those episodes are really not that good. And overall, it feels all a bit disjointed for me as a show. And yeah, I am more person for continuity, as I have said many times before. So overall the live action to me is better. The shows on Disney Plus. I absolutely adore the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. WandaVision was very good. Loki was good as well. And What If just can't reach that standard. There are episodes that are very, very, very good. I mean, the Doctor Strange episode 4, is outstanding. And if every single episode of What If had that level of quality, it would have been one of my favorite things in the MCU. But it just doesn't. And it just doesn't reach that level. So there's a lot of potential, but they're not reaching that potential. Not by a long shot.
Travis, what did you have to say?
Yeah, I was going to say that he's kind of spot on there. There's no, both Perry and Grandmaster had good points there. There's no reason that animation can't be as good as live action. Like Sony's Into the Spider-Verse was arguably the best Spider-Man film. And that's hard for me to say because I do prefer live action. And what Grandmaster, I think he's getting at was that with this What If story, it doesn't follow in the continuity. So there's these versions of these characters don't already have a pre-established relationship with the audience the same way. Like one of the best things about the MCU is the continuity and the amount of care that goes into it from the very first Iron Man on into Endgame and all that. Just watching them in order that way, you grow to love the characters the way they are. It's hard to compete with that with 30-minute episodes of a fan film, pretty much, or fan fiction rather. Granted, Loki went a ways to making this series feel a little bit more important.
Okay, that's fair. I think that I know that Kloss and Daisah, you guys are pretty set on this segment. What do you think, Logan? Do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, I think that like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, WandaVision, Loki, I think that they seem to be moving the story forward, right? Like the whole ordeal of Marvel, it just seemed to, give it that extra push forward. But it seems like What If was just it was fan service, but also it was just there to be there, because I don't know. I don't think it really serves much to the story of Marvel. It's just smaller stories for Marvel,
Yeah, I do. I definitely do. And I mean, honestly, I love the concept of What If. I do. I love the What If comic book. But I'll be honest with you, I really thought at one point when we had the zombie episode, Perry and I loved it. We had a great time with that episode. We had fun reviewing it, lots to talk about, very interesting concept and everything. Grandmaster, I know you don't care for the zombie dynamic and everything and whatnot.
But that's zombies and vampires and that kind of stuff in general. So that just doesn't interest me. So Marvel zombies also don't interest me. It's
No.
not, but I think if you love that kind of stuff, then that episode is actually excellent. But I just don't feel that way.
Well, I agree with you that the Doctor Strange episode 4, was great. So I mean, I loved it. It's a lot stronger than the freaking one with Killmonger. That was like pretty weak to me. I did not enjoy that episode at all. I thought it was convoluted. I didn't like it. But either way, let's move on to something a little bit more positive to talk about besides What If episode 7, because just to wrap things up, my final thoughts are. Oh, you know what? Really quick, I actually forgot. Let's go around the table and do a rating on this, a 1 through 10 on this. I'm going to give it a 5 out of 10 right now, which I think might be overly fair. But just to go around the table, Kloss and Daisah, on a 1 through 10, what would you rate this episode?
Yeah, I'd give it a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
I'd give it a 6 because. Yeah, it didn't really. There was no real weight to it. It didn't mean nothing. But it was all right, though. It was well made. If I was a child, I would have liked it. If I was a kid and every week I was like, oh, man, my superhero show's coming out, I would have probably liked it a lot more. But it was pretty good, so I'll give it a 6.
That's fair. Daisah?
I give it a 9 out of 10. I really enjoyed
Oh, wow.
it. I may even rewatch it later, honestly.
9 out of 10.
What?
Yeah, I mean, I just really enjoyed it, and maybe it's because I do try to embrace my inner child when I'm like watching TV.
Have you been
You know, 'cause
taking
it's something
Uncle
really
Joe
true.
Biden's pills?
No, but I really liked it. It was like a rom-com movie to me, but in like 30 minutes. I really enjoyed it. I liked how they got the matching tattoos. I thought that was really rom-com-esque to me. I really liked it. I think I
Yeah,
will
the
rewatch
watching
it.
tattoos lost the point.
I forgot
for me.
about that. For me, when freaking Howard the Duck married Darcy, I was like, "You got to be kidding me, dude!" Like, seriously.
That was one of my favorite parts.
Yeah,
It's
that
just
was
like
good.
one of
that
those
line for me.
cheesy
That was the
bachelorette
threshold.
movies.
I was like, "You got to be kidding me!"
I loved it. 9 out of 10, just like a bachelorette movie where everybody gets drunk and people get married to someone they don't know and they get matching tattoos and wake up the next day like, in trouble.
I've never seen that happen in real life.
Hey,
Oh yeah, it was a show. Nothing in that show happened in real life.
Oh,
People were shooting
no.
lasers out of their
No,
hands.
No, what I'm saying
what
is,
we have to do.
she said it
No,
like,
what-
oh yeah, that when that always happens, at a wedding,
In all the
people
movies,
just-
they do it in
yeah.
the movies.
we like diversity of opinion on here, so let's be happy that somebody actually liked the episode. Logan, what is your 1 through 10?
Probably a 4. Well, I enjoyed it for what it was, but it wasn't my favorite thing.
Got you, Travis.
It should be a 4 for me. Though I am happy that other people enjoyed it more. I just don't think I was the target demographic here. I would have thought that it was kind of for younger audience, like children, if not for one of the few instances of people having sex in the MCU. It's been like Iron Man and then this episode.
Yes, yeah. And I give the Captain Marvel appearance a 9 or 10. Honestly, I loved seeing Captain Marvel again. It was fun. She looked cool in animation. Grandmaster, what's your rating for this episode?
3 out of 10.
Okay, I mean, hey, that's better than a 0.
Yeah. So they're lucky.
Like I said, I'm sure Kevin Feige is going to be hitting you up, Daisah, with a personal email at the end of the show.
I'm very inspired by him. It made me like really feel like creative. I was like, man, I should start brainstorming what if stuff.
If this guy could do it, I could do it.
Hold on, let me preface this. I sent Daisah and Kloss the video of Kevin Feige doing the Disney Investor event, where he explained the lineup for Phase 4 and everything. and they watched it. So that's what she's talking about. You like Kevin Feige, right, Daisah?
Yeah, I'm very impressed by him. He was very well dressed. I liked his hat. He explained everything very well. Like I didn't know about anything he was talking about beforehand, but I feel informed, and even the word dedicated to where thank you for telling me about these movies. I'm probably gonna watch them now. Just
So did you
he was
actually
great.
feel like like energy from watching him doing the show, like the
Yeah, you can
presentation?
tell he likes it, and that's like his thing. I mean, I don't know what he does like in real life, what's his job, but I felt like he liked it.
He's the head of
Uh,
Marvel Studios completely. He runs the entire show.
Oh, cool.
He was like he was unveiling something like, "Oh, have I got a treat for you?"
Yeah,
with
I
this
felt
one?"
like I was in a seminar, and he's like, I want to share this awesome thing with you, you know.
Hey, I think
But it
that's
was personable.
I think that's a good point. I think Kevin Feige is very talented at doing those Comic-Con, reveals and stuff like that. He's actually very good. But all right, moving on.